friends, today I'm going to talk about my most anticipated releases for April, May and June. So apparently one thing you can count on this channel, whatever is going on in my life, whatever is going on in the world, are my most anticipated releases videos. I always look forward to them. I don't think I've ever forgotten to do one, maybe one like a little bit late just because I was busy, but these videos are truly some of my favorite videos to make, and I just love putting new releases out there. I love getting myself hyped, even if I don't read much. Just kind of, I will usually still have these on my radar. I have like a Goodreads shelf and everything, and like, you know, even if I don't end up reading any of those, just giving you a list of books that I think sound very exciting that you might not have heard about. It warms my heart, it makes me happy, and so today I am gonna do my list of most anticipated releases for the second quarter of 2020. I think I said this in my last most anticipated releases video as well. I am not on top of releases as I have been in the past for reasons that you all probably know, and so I will probably have missed some things that are like super amazing, but I still have a list of 21 releases that come out in the next 3 months, so I think that is more than enough to feed us for now. And if I have anything else exciting, I'm sure I can squeeze in another video like when I do. I don't want to be like too excited, but like maybe when I do something like a TBR, I could squeeze in a couple more new releases, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. We're not there yet, but I am hoping to get back to doing TBRs, balancing the books. Most of all, I miss balancing the books. Okay, anyway, I'm just gonna get into the new releases for April, May and June. So the first and only April release I have comes out on April 23rd, and that is Queen of Coin and Whispers by Helen Corcoran. This is about a young queen who inherits her uncle's bankrupt kingdom, and she hires a new spy master to avenge her murdered father. And I think it's just like a, YA fantasy that is relatively, I think we've seen it before, except it is a female romance, and that is where I am always in. I love me a good standard YA fantasy with queer aspects in it, so I'm so in. Then on May 5th we have The Mermaid, the Witch and the Sea by Maggie Tokuda Hall. This is a YA fantasy, and I'm just gonna read you this little blurb. A desperate orphan turned pirate and a rebellious imperial daughter find a connection on the high seas in a world divided by colonialism and threaded with magic. And it is a female NB romance. Listen, if you don't know that this book is exactly my brand, like, you're new here, you don't know me. Like, just the title, just the cover, just the female NB romance, like, that's it, But like, just hearing that, pirate, rebellious imperial daughter, high seas, world divided by colonialism, magic. Oh, this is definitely one of my most anticipated releases, just looking at the whole year, like top 5, I think, actually. Yeah, I think so. Oh my god, I cannot wait for this one. It better not disappoint because I have high hopes. Also on May 5th is Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo. This is another novel in verse by her, and it is about 2 girls who lose their father in a plane crash, and I think one of them is in the Dominican Republic and the other one is in New York City, and kind of them, just like, despite the distance, getting together to process this loss that they both experienced. I actually have not read The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo. I realized that the audiobook is not really for me. I tried it. I think that novels in verse are not really for me to consume on audio. I think I have to experience them for myself, just for it's more so the understanding, which is funny to me because usually I understand everything. I don't really have many language barrier things anymore, but I think when it comes to verse, I just struggle with it a little bit. But especially as I'm currently reading so much poetry, I am definitely more interested in checking out novels in verse. And I mean, I've heard so many good things about The Poet X. I did really like With the Fire on High, and so I'm super excited about this. The story sounds great. The cover, perfect, and I'm just very excited for this one. Then on May 12th, we have The Boy in the Red Dress by Kristen Lambert. This is actually a YA historical fiction, which is a rare find on my most anticipated releases list, but it is a queer historical fiction, so I am very much there for that. I do not know too many of the specifics of this story, if I'm honest, but I know that the main character is bi. I know that there is a side character that is gay and does drag. I know that it all kind of revolves around a very queer friendly speakeasy, and like it just sounds like, I was gonna say it sounds like the coolest concept. I barely know anything about it, but it sounds like the coolest concept. I just think that queer historical fiction is a little bit underrated, actually, and I think that, and I hope that we get so much more of it, because I definitely think I would read more historical fiction if it was more queer, you know? And I think that, I don't know if it's, I'm gonna be honest, I don't know if it's just me not, you know, knowing about the genre enough, so maybe I just don't see the releases that are out there, or if they are not out there, I just know that when something sounds as cool as this, I want it, and I want to support it, and I want to shout it out. So definitely let me know if you know any other queer historical fiction, you know, apart from like the obvious A Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue, especially if there's new releases. Definitely let me know about them. Also on May 12th is Girl, Serpent, Thorn by Melissa Basha Doost. This is another YA fantasy with a female romance, and I think it is not a fairy tale retelling. I think it's kind of like a new spin on fairy tales, and it's about this girl. She's kind of poisonous, like when you touch her, that's like poison, which does give me Shadow Me vibes, but I still think it's a very, very new take. It sounds like a very new take. Then on top of that, it's queer. I did feel disappointed by this author's, I think, debut, Girls Made of Snow and Glass, because, well, I wasn't necessarily disappointed in the book as a whole. I just think that many people put it out there as a female romance, when I think that that aspect was a really, really small aspect of the story, which is obviously totally fine, but at the end of the day, it wasn't the main romance. I think it's one thing if it's a small aspect in your story, but then when it's not the main romance, I think it's a little bit, it's complicated to then kind of try and sell it as a female romance or a female relationship, for me personally anyway. But I still enjoyed the writing and the story overall, so I'm definitely super excited about this one, and I think in here it is actually the main relationship, so I'm just pumped to see, and I definitely am excited to read more by this author. Then on May 19th we have The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins, which is a new novel set in the Hunger Games world. And I'm gonna tell you quite honestly, I was really not sure if I was gonna put this on this list, because initially I was incredibly excited about this. I no longer am all that much, because I do not care about President Snow's backstory. Now, am I still gonna read this book? Yes. Is this probably one of the few books that I will actually like read? Not just one of those books where I say I want to read it and I'm so excited for it, but like, oh, I will probably pick this up midnight when it comes out. Yeah. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I'm not even gonna lie to me. That is probably what is going to happen. And I just very much hope that I will be very pleasantly surprised by this book, that I will absolutely fall in love with this book, just as I have with the original trilogy. But I'm gonna tell you quite honestly, I just don't think this is it. You know, I just don't think this is it. And this is not because I'm like, we shouldn't focus on like the evil guy, like the story is that boring. Like, I think that the story could very well be interesting. It's just that in this context, I do not care about the evil guy when we have characters like Mags. You know, there's so many interesting characters in this world. Like, I don't care. I don't, like, honestly, I know that we basically know Haymitch's story, yeah? But I would have 1,000% rather would have gotten a full novel on Haymitch than this. Like, I'd rather go into it with expectations like that than be pleasantly surprised and really end up loving it. That's fine. That's cool. But I will tell you straight up right now, I just don't think this is it. That's my opinion. I'm still gonna read it. I'm still like excited because it's a new book by Suzanne Collins, but like, oh man, we had you know, like we could have had it all. And this is what we get. Then on May 26th, we have I Kissed Ellis by Anna Birch. This is a YA contemporary about two girls who hate each other in real life, but they actually anonymously start working on I think graphic novel actually together on this fanfic site online, and they actually really, really like each other online. So I think it's an enemies to lovers romance. It is described as a book for fans of Simon versus the Homo sapiens agenda and Fangirl, which I love Simon. I felt okay about Fangirl, but just the mix of it and knowing that it is a female romance and like a romantic comedy just makes my heart feel very full, and I'm just super excited about it. Then also on May 26th, we have out now Queer We Go Again. This is another anthology edited by Sondra Mitchell with all kinds of queer stories. I cannot wait for this one. I absolutely loved the All Out anthology. That is my favorite anthology I have read to this date, and I just very much trust Sondra Mitchell with putting this together. I haven't even read the author lineup. I'm just seeing like Mark Oshiro, C.B. Lee. That's kind of the names that show up on Goodreads. All Out was like historical fiction for the most part, so I don't know if this one, I don't think this one is as well. I think this is all kinds of fantasy. Yeah, I'm seeing vampires crash prom, aliens run from the government, a president's daughter comes into her own, a Selkie and the sea call out to a lost soul. I just think that it is just a colorful mix of all kinds of things. I do hope that it will have a little bit more representation when it comes to the A spectrum and also trans rep. So I do hope that that is more of a thing, because that was kind of the biggest criticism that, you know, just everyone had about the first anthology. But I just cannot wait. I'm so glad that there's another anthology like this edited by Sondra Mitchell. Then we have so many June 2nd releases. The very empty April for me definitely is completely redeemed by just June 2nd. Just June 2nd releases everywhere. And the first of those releases I'm going to talk about is A Song of
Wraith
and Rune by Roseanne A. Brown. This is the hardest book title for me to pronounce. This word, I'm struggling with it, but this is the first book in a YA fantasy duology inspired by West African folklore. And I think that this is an Own Voices aspect too, and it is about a grieving princess and a refugee that are supposed to murder each other, but there is a growing attraction. And like, this is just very much the kind of storyline that speaks to me so much. And just as so many books get more exciting for me if they are queer, they also just get more exciting for me when they, you know, are inspired by non-Western folklore or just mythology or whatever. And I'm just very much excited about this because it just sounds fantastic. I love that it's a duology, and the cover, oh my god, it is to die for on so many aspects, but especially the fact that we have a black girl on the cover as well for this kind of book. It makes my heart feel very happy. Then we have Where Dreams Descend by Janella Angelis. This is a YA fantasy about this magical contest where people go against each other to find the new headliner for this conquering circus. So it has a little bit to do with performing arts. I know that one of the main characters is a showgirl. I cannot wait. I think it is full of magic, and it says something in the synopsis about this danger that strikes behind the scenes. So there's obviously gonna be something like that. Just it sounds like, how do I say this? It sounds so very unique, while at the same time I think providing us with themes that we're used to, I guess, or like the storyline is gonna go in directions that we're used to, but like the setting and the characters and stuff sounds very unique, so I'm super excited. Then we have I Think I Love You by Oriane Desombre. This is a YA contemporary about two girls who are competing against each other in this competition to win a trip to a film festival in LA, and I think while competing and like obviously being enemies, they end up falling in love. I mean, you know, it's another female enemies to lovers. I do always like when books have something to do with like film. Love the cover. Again, I mean, this cover, the colors, it's absolutely gorgeous. And I think that this is another one that's very romantic comedy style. It is described as a book for fans of Leon the Offbeat, which I didn't love that book, but I do love Becky Albertalli's work in general, so I think that I'm very much going to enjoy this book. Then we have The Dark Tide by Alicia Jasinska. Now, this is another one where I'm just going to read you the little thing that it says on top of the Goodreads page. The Wicked Deep meets A Curse So Dark and Lonely. I have not read either of those books, but hear me out. The Wicked Deep meets A Curse So Dark and Lonely in this gripping, dark fairy tale fantasy about two girls who must choose between saving themselves, each other, or their sinking island city. And this is one of those things where I'm like, I won't read anything else. I won't read anything else. Like, a sinking island city, yeah. A female-female relationship, yeah. And like, thinking about saving themselves or saving each other just ticks a lot of my boxes. Then we have what is definitely the most exciting release of this quarter for me, but also maybe my most anticipated release of this entire year, and the one that I'm looking forward to the most, definitely top 3, and that is Igniting Darkness by Robin Lefevre. This is the sequel to Coding Darkness and the final book in that duology, and with that kind of concludes this whole story, which is basically a continuation of the His Fair Assassin trilogy, which is a trilogy that I love so very much. And I loved Courting Darkness a whole lot as well, so I absolutely cannot wait for this one. And I just really hope that I am in a good reading mood when this book comes out, because I just want to read it so bad. And like, when I finished Courting Darkness, I just immediately wanted this book in my hands, and I just love this series so very much, and this series deserves so much more love. I don't know what's happening with that series. Like, I can only say it over and over again. If you enjoy books like Graceling, like Poison Study, what else do I always put in these categories? The Kiss of Deception. Although, to me, honestly, The Kiss of Deception, it ain't on that level. It ain't on that level. But like, Graceling and Poison Study, for sure. If you enjoy these kinds of books, absolutely pick up the His Fair Assassin trilogy. It is wonderful. This cover, definitely one of my favorites of this entire year as well. I just cannot wait. I'm so pumped. Then we have You Should See Me in a Crown by Leah Johnson. This is a YA contemporary that is about a main character who just, feels like she doesn't fit in with her Midwestern town. She feels like she's too black, she's too poor, she's too awkward, and she just really wants to escape this city. And so she wants to attend this elite college and become a doctor. But then her financial aid falls through. But then she remembers that there's this scholarship that you get if you become prom king or queen, and so she decides to just go for that, even though she absolutely does not want to, because she doesn't feel like she fits in anyway. And the only thing that's kind of making all of this bearable for her is this new girl at school. So it is a novel about a black girl, and it is a female-female relationship. This just sounds absolutely fantastic. Love the cover a lot as well. It's just so I don't know, happy vibes. Then on June 9th, we have This Is All Your Fault by Amina May Safi. This is a YA contemporary about 3 girls who are trying to save their indie bookstore. I definitely think this has queer elements. I really enjoyed Amina May Safi's Tell Me How You Really Feel that came out last year. So that's all I need to know. I can't wait. I'm very excited to read more by this author. Then also on June 9th, we have The Falling in Love Montage by Sierra Smith. This is a YA contemporary about a girl who has this strict rule of like no falling in love. She struggles with her mother who has dementia, and the potential of her getting dementia someday too. And so that is a huge aspect of the book, which I am super excited about. But then it is about this summer that these 2 girls have together, where they kind of make this pact of like, let's spend this summer together, we're just gonna have a good time, and then when the summer is over, we're just gonna go our separate ways. No falling in love, just having a good time as if we would be. But then you can imagine what happens, if they just have a great summer together but try not to fall in love. I think that it is really interesting to see, not only a main character who has a family member who struggles with dementia, but also the kind of fear of inheriting that and living with that. And so I think that it will definitely have some really hard-hitting elements, but I think that it will also be you know, a lot of fluffy, happy moments just with these two girls spending their summer together. I love this cover. It's really simple, but like I just love the colors, and this cover definitely makes me feel good. So I hope that the book is definitely, you know, packs some messages and some punches, but is just a happy, fluffy read overall. Also on June 9th, we have Cemetery Boys by Aidan Thomas. This is a YA fantasy about a Latinx trans boy, which is an own voices aspect. And I'm not gonna lie to you, this would have probably been something that would have ended up on my anticipated releases for those aspects alone. But first of all, the cover, once again, just amazing. But then also, I do really, really love the synopsis for this as well, because this is about the main character trying to do this ritual, and he actually ends up summoning the ghost of the school's bad boy, and the ghost no longer wants to leave because he still has some things he wants to do before he's actually like gone from this world. And so, you know, the main character kind of has to deal with this ghost, but they end up kind of maybe falling in love. I love that so much. I think that this is a story that is gonna be so wonderfully queer, and I know that this book definitely deals with the main character's family having issues with him being trans, but I think that at the end of the day, from what I've read from reviews, it is way more of an uplifting book than it portrays a lot of queer pain. I think it's a book that many will find incredibly relatable, but will be able to just get something really, really good out of it at the end of the day, and I am just so excited for that. The blessings. Then on June 16th, we have Bookish and the Beast by Ashley Poston. This is the third book in the Once Upon a Con series. It's kind of a companion series with these fairy tale retellings all centered around this convention for this fictional science fiction show. If you have been here for a little bit, you will probably know that I am in love with this series. I really truly love Geekarella, but I love The Princess and the Fangirl even more. That was one of my favorite books of last year. I am so very invested in this world, in this fictional TV show, which I just still cannot believe. And I cannot explain to you how excited I am to read this. And this is a book that I actually have an arc for. I requested an arc because I actually have faith in myself reading this, because that is how excited I am for this release. So definitely expect a review for this from me, because I have loved talking about this series for the past 3 years. I don't know when the first book came out, and I will not stop talking about it. I am in love with this world that Ashley Poston has created, and I just hope that I love this one just as much as I loved the other two. Also on June 16th, we have I'll Be the One by Lila Lee. This is a YA contemporary about a Korean girl, which is an own voices aspect, who is also plus size and wants to become a K-pop star, and she totally nails her audition despite people telling her, you know, she's not made for the K-pop world. And then she does deal with the fat phobia in the industry as well. I cannot explain to you how excited I am about this book, about a YA contemporary that will shine a light on this aspect of the K-pop industry that is just one of the non-great aspects about this industry. I am so obsessed with this cover, with having an Asian plus size girl on the cover. I cannot describe to you how excited I am for this book to be out in the world, and I just really, really hope that it delivers, because I think it can do so much good, and I think that it really, really heavily focuses on body positivity, and that, especially in that industry, I'm so thankful for this book already. And then on June 23rd, we have Sisters of Sword and Song by Rebecca Ross. I absolutely loved Rebecca Ross's The Queen's Rising and The Queen's Resistance, and I just know that this is a YA fantasy about the bond between two sisters. That's all I need. I cannot wait. And finally, also on June 23rd, we have Seasons of Storm by Ellen Cosimano. This is a YA fantasy about personified seasons, I guess, and it is kind of how they have to go in a fight, and you always have to fight the season that comes before you. Summer has to kill spring, autumn has to kill summer, winter has to kill autumn, and spring has to kill winter, but winter and spring kind of end up falling in love and try to escape this cycle that they are in. I don't really have any idea of the specifics of this. Like, how does this work? What's the system like? How do you become a season? I don't know. But what I do know is that I think that it sounds really, really cool. Like a really cool concept. I feel like it sounds like a concept that we haven't really seen before like that. So I don't know, I'm just pumped for it. So these were all of my most anticipated releases for April, May and June. Now obviously with everything that's currently going on, release dates could change for any of these books, so keep that in mind. And obviously, you know, I'm just sending you all so much love. I hope that you're all staying safe and staying healthy, and all your loved ones as well. And yeah, just let me know if you're excited about any of these as well, or if you have any other releases that you're looking forward to. Definitely let me know in the comments down below, because again, I'm not really on top of things right now, so if you have anything else that you think might interest me, definitely want to hear about that in the comments. And yeah, I make new videos hopefully at least once a week, so click subscribe to never miss anything and hit the little bell so you get notified as well. And thank you so much for watching. I guess I'll see you soon.